Dario Franchitti, who doesn't use hair product, as we've learned. If you could describe this dinner with racers in one word, what would it be?
Indigestion.
Pretty accurate.
Yeah, it'll work.
Yeah.
And now for Dinner with Racers, presented by
Continental Tire.
with your hosts, Ryan Eversley and Sean Heckman.
Placeholder radio sound. I'm a driver. I'm very angry. This is the sound of a driver on the radio during a race.
What do you think I should order?
Welcome to Dinner with Racers. I'm your host, Ryan Eversley, and I'm sitting alongside my friend, co-host, partner,
Co-host, Sean Heckman. Yay! We're clapping for ourselves.
I
We're complete assholes.
can't believe we're doing this.
Yeah.
Season 3, we said we wouldn't do it. Here we are. But there's a reason. It's because you assholes have downloaded this show so many times that we had to come back and give you a third season. Unbelievable. We are so thankful and grateful for all the support, the downloads, the followers. It's been incredible. I got so many people coming up to me this year at the racetrack, even at races that had nothing to do with Continental Tire. People still came and talked to us about the podcast. Thank you so much. Sean Heckman even got to take some photos of people.
I would like to thank the 4 different people that approached me over the year and thanked me for their free podcast. I appreciate you 4 people.
Yeah, that was pretty neat to hear. So this is the season of holy
Holy sh**.
holy sh**.
Holy sh**.
We had such an incredible guest list. First off, Dario Franchitti. How?
Yep.
Why? Why would you? Us.
Tony
Not
Stewart.
Tony Stewart. Mario Andretti.
Scott Tucker.
Wait, we got Scott Tucker?
We got Scott Tucker.
Jesus, I thought I dreamed that.
Yeah, we also dreamt about Jeremy Mayfield.
Oh, God, we got Jeremy Mayfield?
Jeremy Mayfield.
Wait.
Yeah.
We didn't get Jeremy Mayfield.
We got Jeremy Mayfield.
Oh,
we
my-
got Scott Dixon.
We got, wait.
Yeah, Scott Dixon.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah. Joseph Newgarden.
Joe New?
Yeah.
Dude.
Dude.
We got Ryan Lewis?
Yeah, him too. Here's just for the season, not necessarily this next episode. Here's some of the things you're going to hear about over the next 29 episodes. You're going to hear about biting a monkey,
Orgies.
mistaking crystal meth for cocaine,
Other stories about cocaine.
how much money you would make driving for Penske in the 90s.
Dale Earnhardt giving a guy a hickey. Duct taping Richard Petty's shoulder back in place.
And not one, but 2 motorsport legends reciting rap lyrics.
Yeah, it's been that year.
Yeah, that year.
So let's get into the podcast itself. We are on day 34. We just wrapped up in Charlotte, North Carolina. We are headed to Atlanta right now to finish this thing off. We've driven 13,000 miles across 25 states.
29 of these free meals are coming your way. We can only hope you enjoy these twice as much as we did making them.
So a couple people we got to thank. Our friends at Foxy Wraps who got us wrapped up on the Acura MDX. It looks awesome. Clearly you can't do this without a car that can last a cross-country trip 3 times. So Acura, thank you so much for supporting this. We're huge fans, obviously. I love my job.
And one of the biggest perks of our increased budget was we actually have a driver.
Yeah.
This time we didn't have to drive the whole way. We actually had a guy drive us all the way, none other than Mr. Dario Franchitti.
Pretty cool of Dario to be able to give us 34 days of his time.
Do you guys have to do this now? Come on, I'm trying to drive.
Yes, Dario, we know.
We just said that. All of this isn't possible without our number one sponsor, Continental Tire.
I'm sorry, who?
Continental Tire.
That wasn't clear.
Continental Tire.
Cross Contact LX Sport.
So this episode, we got to meet up with Dario Franchitti. Now, it wasn't a part of the road trip, but we were able to squeeze in at the end of another race that Sean and I were doing. And so we met up with him just outside of Sonoma.
And for those of you who don't know Dario's story, again, I doubt it, but Dario is an open wheel legend. He was one of the biggest names during the Champ Car era, won everything there was to win in Champ Car, moved over to IndyCar racing, would go on to become a 3-time Indianapolis 500 champion and a 4-time IndyCar Series champion. That's in addition to runs in DTM, runs in NASCAR, and basically everything in between. And this dude told us no shortage of stories.
We learned about what products he uses in his hair,
Getting robbed at Taco Bell,
his NASCAR career,
knowing when it was time to call it quits,
and we take advantage of his accent.
we actually met up on National Cheeseburger Day at the Fairmont Sonoma Mission Inn. They have this great restaurant called Santé.
I had the Dungeness crab quesadilla. Fantastic.
And believe it or not,
Don't say it.
oh yeah, I had
Don't.
exactly. No, I did. I actually did. I had the chicken sandwich.
Okay.
Huge thanks to Mr. Mike Hull for helping make this happen, and of course Acura for the car, but more importantly,
Continental Tire.
for making this whole thing possible. It's Dario.
Seriously, we got Dario. Holy
All right, we're going to start in 5, 4, 3, 2.
It's the guys with the headsets.
Good to see you.
Hey.
Hey, he's got a left ticket shirt on.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
I love a free T-shirt.
I understand. You hear that, Pat?
We get some sort of royalties for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he should. For all the beer that he used to steal out of my house when he was a young, struggling racing driver, I get a free T-shirt.
Well, he doesn't drink much now.
I did back then.
I was with him last night, and he was definitely
Really? Well, he's
taking
slowed
it
down
easy.
his age.
Yeah, he's got
So-
kids, I guess.
Yeah.
I thought that makes you drink more.
Well, I mean, so Pat is like 4'10". How much would you say he could actually handle?
Back in the day,
I don't know that everybody understands. This is Pat Long we're talking about. You're wearing a Lufka Colt shirt. Which Lufka Colt is that?
It's
Is that
the latest.
Ah,
one, I
so that would
think.
be 4.
Is it 4?
So I don't know.
Yeah, back in the day, he used to drink more than he probably should have, I would say. Him and James Courtney and Marino used to go up to Scotland and stay at my house. I was
Nice.
obviously living over here.
Right.
And they would go in and I'd have to hide the keys of the garage.
So you were like the dad in the group.
Yeah,
And-
something like that. I'd come back and the house would be a mess and the fridge would be empty. I'd be like, yeah, okay.
All right. So it was Pat. It was Marino.
And James Courtney.
Who was the worst?
You
can say Pat.
No, they were all pretty bad, to be honest. They were much of a muchness. It was when they started to sort of wreck my company cars
Ah.
that,
Okay.
yeah, it had to be kind of the...
That's when
That was the
Big
end
Brother
of it.
had to step in.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. When was this?
God, this was a long time ago. 99? 2000?
Oh, okay.
2000?
This one he was just getting going.
Yeah.
So.
Actually, 98, 99.
Oh wow.
When they were...
When they were really, as they say in Scotland, wee.
Yeah, we lads.
They were wee lads, exactly. Exactly right.
So you owe me $1.
I do owe you $1.
We had a contest going if you were gonna go like slick back hair or like the natural look. Give it up.
I was figuring gelled hair and like button down.
Oh no, I said casual. Definitely didn't shower for us.
Yeah, I was wearing shorts up until a while ago. I was out doing a bit of wine tasting with Dixon earlier today.
Nice.
Yeah.
In theory, now we don't know this, but
Yeah.
in theory we're going to meet with him in about a week and a half.
He said that.
Oh, he said this.
Yeah, I see.
Awesome. So he's doing it then.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So you should come tonight.
That would have been awesome.
Get it knocked out. Yeah, I understand.
Slightly inebriated Scott Dixon, it would have been awesome.
All right. Well, we'll wait till till we get some liquor in you, but we want some good Scott Dixon stories that you can tell us anonymously, and I promise it will absolutely make the cut here. But anything you can do to help us out, we may have called some friends of yours.
Oh,
Who may or may not be ex-Spanish champ car drivers and looking for some dirt.
Catalonian.
Just got married
Mexican
this
to
week.
me. Yes, like 2 days ago.
Yeah, how about
that? And here's the thing, though. He, honest to God, now maybe he was bull, but he, honest to God, had no dirt. I mean, he was effectively, he was effectively saying that you were really, really dull. I mean, that is in fact his words, not ours.
Perfect.
But he was going back to I guess you guys were in a helicopter all through Australia at one point.
Yeah, we did.
But there was nothing he could go with on that.
Said you're very, very
That
good.
you were
at
very behaved.
Behaved. Yeah,
So.
exactly.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not believing this face at all.
Yeah.
Well, that was fun chatting, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for
well,
coming.
see you later.
Yeah.
No worries.
And, here's a sandwich.
So, do you have any idea who we are or what this is?
Yes.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
How
boy.
so?
What was the Johnny O'Connell thing?
Yes! Okay, high five. You made me just so happy right there. Do you know what the Johnny O'Connell thing is?
It was something about him trying to run me down in the paddock or something.
Yeah,
and-
but you have no idea what that is.
I remember it.
Oh, you do?
Okay.
So
yeah,
it's real.
yeah, I was kind of not paying attention.
Yeah, that's what he said.
You know, being that person that annoys you when you're trying to drive through the paddock. I was that person.
Right.
And I
Right.
I
Yeah,
turned around and
you're
there's
not paying-
Johnny looking at me. I thought, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Okay.
And then
Fair
has
enough.
anybody come up to you and mentioned that to you?
Yes.
Because we were getting tagged in a couple tweets, and we're thinking Dario's looking at his phone like,
I thought,
what
was
is
going
this?
on? I did it first. I thought, hang on a minute here. Right, I'm going to do some research, find out what's going on. Right. Okay. Yeah, see?
Yeah,
Okay.
we actually wondered if you would not know that. We would explain it, and you'd be like, oh, I'm out of here.
And that's when you're gone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
you're
no,
like,
no,
okay,
no. I was
that's
well aware of what I was letting myself in for. And I still showed up.
Excellent. So why are you still here? Just a couple days, or
Yeah.
With
I'm
the podcast.
going
we're
yeah,
staying for dinner with
exactly.
racers? Yeah.
I thought free dinner, I'm here. You guys are buying, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah,
we are.
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, they said they were out of the $40 steak.
I hate when that happens. Yeah, so Marco's getting married. Marco Andretti's getting married next weekend.
Nice.
And I figured rather than fly all the way home back to New York, I would stay here for a couple of days, meet my wife in New York on Wednesday.
And you're full-time Scotland.
Full-time London.
London. Ah.
Not full-time, I mean a bit of time in Scotland. But yeah, my wife works in London.
Okay.
And
So what does she do?
she works at a hedge fund.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, well, that's you done well.
Yeah. I was going to say she's a smart girl, but clearly not.
Yeah. Questionable taste in men.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we're there most of the time.
So what do you, like, because, I mean, you're still with Ganassi, but, and I don't say this to sound mean, but what do you do? I really have no clue what your job is when you come out here.
That's a good question.
Mike Hall was saying the same thing.
Yeah, so was Chip this morning. He's like, hey, Guy, what do you do? No, I do whatever's necessary
Sure.
to improve the performance of the team.
Sure.
Looking at it from a racer's angle,
Right.
with experience, helping the drivers to with their weak points,
Sure.
build on on their strengths, bring their weak points up. Making sure the communications there with the engineers, between the driver and engineer, between the drivers and the drivers, between the
Right.
engineers, and just to watch what's going on.
Sure.
And literally whatever it can take. That can be talking to new drivers, for future seasons.
Sure.
Sitting with Mike and Chip and Scott Harner and Barry, and just sort of going through, what direction of the team or whatever Chip wants.
Yeah.
Sure.
Basically.
Yeah.
So it's.
Do you get stuck in a lot of like the sponsor things that somebody like Scott or Tony wouldn't have time for? So it's like, I don't want to go to that dinner, but now, okay, send Dario.
Yeah. No.
All right, well, you got that deal.
At race weekend, it can be simply as much as looking at data.
Yeah.
Looking at the in-car cameras, looking at doing track walks, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And with guys like Dixon, you don't sort of tell them too much. It's not like,
Sure.
hey, you need to be using fourth gear at that corner.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
At the time we were recording, Max Chilton's part of the team, Charlie is part of the team, and obviously Charlie's been around for a few years, but guys like that who maybe haven't quite gotten the kind of the accolades that a guy like Dixon or even Kanan has gotten. I assume there's a certain amount of coaching, especially with somebody like Chilton who's in second year.
Yeah. There is, and with Tony, it's he's got some bad habits.
Sure.
And it's sort of helping him to get out of those bad habits. And the good thing with Tony, we've been friends and teammates such a long time that we have a sort of a relationship, a trust there, where even with his experience, he's like, yeah, okay, I'll try that. And even Dixon, it was like at the weekend where the wind was running in a certain direction, there was something I'd thought of. And he's like, I said, have you thought about doing that? He said, oh, I'll give it a go. And he came back and that didn't work. But it's that kind of relationship.
Just another perspective.
With those guys. Yeah. And you watch what they do and how each driver works. And with Max, it's sort of encouraging him because drivers will think we've got all the answers, right?
Good.
And especially as you're younger. Max was an interesting one this year though, because he said to me, he said, year 2 I will do better. And he really did. But when he led at Indianapolis, his whole mindset changed.
Sure. Yeah.
And I said to him, that was really good for you and really bad for you, wasn't it? He's like, yeah. Just watch what it did. And that was just him figuring out.
In terms of getting the taste or the confidence that comes with it?
Both.
Yeah.
The taste and what it did for his sort of his ambition and his desire to do it was really incredible.
So as a guy that used to race a lot with all of these guys that are still going, Dixon, Kanan, et cetera, do you get nervous like when they run the ovals?
Yeah, I do get nervous.
Yeah.
I do. And I always say to them, it almost went without saying with Scott and Tony, but with Max, I've said, I will never ask you to do something I wouldn't have done. I'll never put you in a position that I wouldn't want to be in myself. But there are times, I mean, Indy this year with Scott's accident in the race, I was horrified. And actually, since my last accident, I don't really deal well with when I see crashes.
Yeah.
Right.
I saw Mimo Gidley
Yeah.
yesterday
Yeah.
pit lane.
Yeah, he was with
We
us.
had him on our
I
show.
was so happy to
Yeah.
see him because
Yeah.
the last time I saw him
Yeah.
was that horrible accident. And I remember my reaction afterwards to that accident, as it happened, and then afterwards going, I hope nobody saw that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because, it was just horrifying.
Well, I mean, you've obviously had your share of licks, and a few of them you remember. But with that in mind, I assume when you remember an accident like that, you feel it when you see somebody else going through it.
yeah, you absolutely do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that one, I mean, it really was.
Yeah.
I think something that's unique about the IndyCar paddock is that you've had guys like Dixon and Kanaan who've been around forever. So there's a very close-knit bond, I think, between you guys. You know, you always see the photos you guys are at dinner together or on the scooters around the track and everything.
Yeah, I think some of that happened when Greg was around, when Greg Moore was around, because he was, when I first came over, he was already running, but he was kind of the catalyst. He brought everybody together. You know, he was friends with so many people. And it's like, right, we're going out to dinner, we're doing this, we're doing that. And that sort of attitude you see in the paddock, I think, was started by him, really. But with what you do on the ovals, there's got to be an element of trust. And yeah, there's drivers I didn't like when I raced against them. But you had to have that trust with them.
Sure.
And, you know, those friendships definitely developed. It's kind of a weird dynamic. I mean, you'll have it, the guys you're friendly with, but you go out and you race against them. You don't have to hate them to want to beat them. I always used to look at it like with Dixon or Tony or Greg or anybody, it was like bragging rights if you beat them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
You're buying dinner. You know?
The Dario Franchitti rap song.
Oh, yeah.
What's the deal?
I have no idea.
So, okay, well, let's go back a step. So so the song comes out. A couple guys pick it up. It shows up a little bit on the internet. They never called you. They never notified you.
No.
That's awesome.
I saw it on, I think it was like on social media or something.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
yeah.
What is this? And I put it on. I was like, oh dear. Oh no, I'm gonna get a hard time on this. And all my buddies are like, yeah.
Did you like it?
Not particularly. You know? And the engineers, you know, you'd be literally sitting there, and one of the engineers would like press play, and you'd hear it in the
Yeah.
engineering office. It's like,
Okay, I get it. Yeah.
yeah. So that was.
How long did it linger for you? Well, we're still asking about it.
Yeah,
So
we're
really
still
3
asking,
years.
but
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
Current.
It was about a week. It was like, oh god, this is such a pain in the arse. And then occasionally now it still comes up, and somebody will chuckle about it. And
Sure. But like,
but
but so it was done by these dudes, JB Lynch
Right.
and Prem D.
Prem D.
Prem D.
Yeah.
You've never spoken with them.
no,
They never called you nothing.
I don't.
That's awesome.
I really don't think I have.
If you could speak to him, what would you say?
Let
Let me stop you there. Do you want to speak to him? No? We literally have him. We can call him right. I'm not joking. We actually reached out to him.
No, we're okay.
You're going to break his heart.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. Thanks for the tribute.
Yeah.
You know, the one thing we were thinking was, could they have used a better car?
Oh, yeah.
That was the one thing. It was. It's one of those things I was strangely touched. I guess I was like, that's pretty cool. Okay.
Yeah. Well, he did tell us that he was actually like the big fans of yours,
Oh,
and
cool.
thought you were really, you know, awesome to watch, and so that's why they did it.
Oh, that was cool.
So yeah, if you're listening and you don't have a clue what we're talking about,
Look up Dario Franchitti rap song.
just go to
Yeah.
YouTube, Dario Franchitti rap song, and JB Lynch and Prem D.
Or ask
wrote
Making it
an
happen.
Tony
awesome-
Kanaan, and he will rap it for you.
Oh.
Well, that's gonna happen.
good to know.
That's
gonna
I
happen.
should not have done that.
Yeah.
Sorry, but yeah.
Speaking of previous guests, we've had Mimo, who you mentioned. We also had Brian Clausen. He was really grateful and said that you, not so much in the car, helped him with stuff, but outside of the car, you talked to him a lot about structuring himself as a driver and where his career and future could go. And the last thing he said was, if he was at the dinner tonight, where we were in Indianapolis.
We were, just
Yeah.
outside Carmel.
He's like, if we were at dinner tonight and he was over there, we'd push the tables together and have a nice meal.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
That
You know.
would sum up my relationship with Brian. He was. I remember the last time I saw him, I was driving out the speedway, 2 years ago, and he was there with his girlfriend and his dogs.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
That's
dogs
right.
are the
And
ones, yeah.
we had a nice chat about it, and he's like, "Yep, going racing tonight."
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, he was
Every night.
yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah.
He was such a talent, and he was very good in the restrictor plate tracks. And then he struggled in some of the other stuff. And as you said, the cars were pretty crap at the time. But you'd watch him drive anything really.
Any sort of wing sprint or
Oh
whatever.
my
Yeah.
God.
So-
And I felt it was one of those situations. I was like, come on, give the guy a chance.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, give him another chance, let him do something, because he had the talent.
Absolutely.
And he had that. He'd broken his back years before, and he had that kind of way when he couldn't turn his, and he'd look at you, and he had that big goofy grin. Just, what a loss.
Yeah.
Sure.
What a good guy. Yeah.
So you're obviously known as being the Jim Clark, favorite guy in the world. And I read that you bought one of his old Cortinas.
I did, yeah.
Have you driven it yet?
Yeah.
Like, ever raced it?
No,
Okay.
You can't race it because it's as it was in '64.
Oh, okay.
So it's there's no roll cage.
Yeah.
It has a lap belt.
Yeah.
Which in '64 was a big deal because in F1 they still didn't have seat belts.
Right.
So it has a lap belt. The seats are the Formula Junior seats. So they look like go-kart seats on stilts. And that
Jesus.
I'm the only one that can actually. The only people in the family that can drive it are Marino and I.
Yeah.
Sure.
My dad cannot physically. My dad's not
sure.
a big guy, but he physically cannot fit in the seat.
Sure.
I was like, "Hey, Dad, can you take it for an MOT for me?" Which is the every yearly check you have to do with the cars
okay.
over there. And he's like, "Can't fit in it, son."
That's funny.
But it's a great old thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I want one of those just to have, let alone a Jim Clark one. It'd be pretty amazing.
So
It's the one that won all the races in '64.
Yeah.
BGH 417B is a number plate. It's about to go and get not a restoration because it's perfect, but it's about to get just a going through, so I can get it ready for next summer to take it out and drive down to the local coffee shop.
Yeah, exactly.
or whatever.
say April 7th, 2018 is going to be a very big day, presumably. I mean, what is that day going to mean to you, or what are you going to anything in planning?
Well, I'm involved in the Jim Clark Museum.
Sure.
In the UK as a trustee, and we've just got
But
word.
I think I just saw a thing for a round of funding. Is that
Yeah,
what's
we
going
just
on?
got all the funding
Nice,
to expand it, so that's really cool. And we're trying to do something at the museum around about then.
marking the 50th year of his accident in
Yeah.
Hockenheim.
Yeah, so it'll be 50 years. God,
Now, is all of your stuff in the museum, or do you have a few things that are just like those are yours? And
everything just now is I have my own room, my own Jim Clark room.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, you got to have it.
yeah.
It's across from my office at the house in Scotland. It's like all this Jim Clark stuff, and I've been fortunate enough that I would go to a racetrack, especially Indy, and people will come up and say, "Hey, my kids have got no interest. I want you to take this and take care of it." And so
Oh, no
a lot
kidding.
of that
Okay.
stuff, when the museum expands,
Yeah.
is going to go
That's
in
all that stuff.
to in my stuff. Whether it's trophies I've got or old race suits. I'm trying to think of some of the obscure stuff I've got from Jim. Like
like old data logs, or
I have his
all that kind of
flight
stuff?
logs.
Oh, no kidding.
When he was a pilot, I have those. So just pictures, photographs.
Do you have any Jim Clark stories that people have told you that most people wouldn't know?
Yeah, his friends in Duns. When you get talking to those guys, they're hilarious. We talk about the
Could a couple of Americans understand them?
no,
Okay.
no, absolutely not.
2 words. Yeah.
Yeah.
He had there was a Jaguar D-Type that he raced, and he actually messed up, and he did something with the radiator of the truck it was supposed to go in, and the radiator froze, so they couldn't take the truck, and it was snowing. So he jumped in the D-Type and drove it from Scotland down to England, and did the first 100-mile-an-hour lap of a track in the UK. Drove it home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Just a little track day car.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. But it's also like a completely different era in the sense that, I mean, for example, that day in Hockenheim, if it was an F3 car, so we'll say it's the equivalent of like what Indy Lights would be
Yeah,
now.
an F2 car. So Indy Lights,
F2
yeah,
car,
yeah.
excuse me, Indy Lights. And but like Indy Lights now, it's still, 3 or 4 mechanics, an engineer, somebody doing data, and that day I believe was just like 2 mechanics,
Yeah.
and they were like 20-something-year-old guys.
Yeah.
It was Dave Sims.
Right.
You know
Yeah.
Beaky that
Yeah,
runs
Beaky, right.
Reese.
Reese,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And he was supposed to race at Brands Hatch in the Ford, whatever it was called, F3L or something, beautiful looking car. But Chapman's like, no, you got to go to Hockenheim. Yeah, had a flat tire and
that was that. But I just can't imagine the idea of like two 20-something-year-old guys being the mechanics with this, two-time F1 champion all of a sudden getting in and like, yeah, all right, well,
yeah, on
see
you
where
go.
this goes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You talk to the classic team Lotus still have working for them. But Bob Dance still worked it. Bob worked on the car, with Jimmy back in the 60s.
Right.
So you have Bob and you ask him questions. I ask him questions about my Cortina. He's like, yeah, we'll go through the records and we'll check that out. And, those guys are brilliant.
Yeah.
Right.
And Clive will tell you something like, hey, I found this in the attic. And you're just going, what? we had a spare Lotus 49 in the attic that hadn't been seen. Like, what? And then the twin chassis 88, the ground effect car.
Yeah.
Yeah, that had been lying around for a while.
Just hanging out
back.
as it does.
Yeah.
I drove that at Goodwood, which was mildly terrifying.
We were
just talking about that.
earlier.
We'll get to that in a second, but I got to know. Now, your wife clearly knew what she was getting into when you guys got married, but did she ever look at the Jim Clark room and go, come on? Like, we can
you put your Jim Clark
yeah, we
boots
could do
away,
something.
please?
Exactly.
Yeah.
She's a good sport.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's a
Fair
really
enough.
good sport.
Fair
She
enough.
doesn't. None of that. None of the memorabilia.
All right.
Because I've got my I Love Me room, which is all my racing memorabilia, right?
Okay.
Gotta have that. It's more of a. I was gonna say room. There's a lot of. I'm old, so there's a lot of stuff. Sure.
Now, are you a tidy guy, or is your house just a disaster, or is there like sections for you that are a disaster, and the living space is not so much?
Well, most of the stuff. The I Love Me room's is in the garage.
Okay, fair enough. As it should be, right?
All the suits are in chronological order,
Oh,
as are
that's
the
awesome.
helmets.
Okay.
And then I have a drawer for every year. I have. This is really sad.
Keep going. We can top you any team.
I have the Lotus 38 he won Indy with in 65. When they took it to pieces in 2009, it had the original oil from 1965 in it.
Here it goes. Yeah.
I have some of that oil in the house.
Now, we're okay with this? I get it, but yeah, I can see.
The listeners are going,
Dogs got into the Jim Clark oil again. Clean this up.
yeah.
Jesus. You got a Roomba, it destroys it.
We have to keep this Roomba forever.
That's the Jim Clark Roomba.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But you have driven, no shortage, especially now
yeah.
that you're sort of in your, for lack of a better expression, state of retirement. You're still out driving a million vintage cars.
You got to drive one of the coolest cars I think was ever built recently, the 911 GT1 98.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I want to talk to that guy just to know how that car was, because that car to me was one of the greatest looking cars ever built.
Right.
Yeah.
I always thought it was just stunning, and I was doing some TV stuff for Goodwood, and went to the members meeting, and they said, right, we want you to drive, I can't remember what it was, and the GT198. Because Porsche are great. Like, I drove a 917-30, Moby Dick. Moby Dick I drove around Laguna Seca in jeans and a t-shirt.
That's awesome.
I'm like, you want to? Nah, on you go. Okay. So I went up to the guys from the factory who I've known for a while, and I said, right, so tomorrow I'm driving. Yeah. You want to jump in? Oh, yeah. Got in. Oh, it's fantastic. Everything feels great. I said, it's on wet tires. They're like, obviously, for demos, we want to run it on wets. I'm not going to do my German accent.
Oh, please.
And you should hear Pat's.
It's probably as bad as mine. So I said, they were all cracked around the edges and everything. I'm like, guys, this is the GT198 that's on these wet tires that are older than I am. Do you have slicks? And they went, oh yeah. Do you want them? Yeah. I said, well, let's see what the weather's like tomorrow, shall we? Yeah. So I show up in the collection area the next morning, and there it is on these shiny new slicks, and it is 39 degrees. I'm like,
great.
Get what you asked for.
Exactly.
Yeah,
those wacky
that's
Germans
on
and their sense of humor. So I did the world's biggest burnout, got some heat in the rear, and then round Goodwood, which is really fast, in that thing was lightning. I mean, it was doing. My insurance company are listening. This is a lie. It was 175 at the end of the back straight, Goodwood. and it was getting better with every lap,
Right,
and I was
keep
getting
going, keep
right,
going, yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
getting braver, and then eventually calmed down. There was a guy behind me in another GT1,
Yeah.
and I was determined he was not catching me. I was going to pull away, and I was giving it plenty, and it just typical Porsche. There, no vices. You know, the gearbox. They always said the gearbox wasn't very good, and it was beautiful. Gearbox perfect. The engine was just so grunty, and that noise, that flat six, even with the turbos. Ah, it was awesome. It was, and I kind of had all these visions of driving it down the Mulsanne, which I never got to do. And the fact that McNish had driven it, won his first Le Mans, and clearly it wasn't his seat that was in it, because a person of normal size could fit. You know, it wasn't like
It's like a car seat for a child.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
What's been the most terrifying one you've driven? To me, there's two levels of terrifying. There's terrifying for your own safety, and there's terrifying because this is a $20 million car.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be that guy.
I think recently for this Goodwood TV show I drove a GTO, which was just sublime.
Yeah.
Up the hill
Yeah.
at Goodwood.
Cool.
A DB4 GT
Yeah.
up the same hill. But when I drove that, there was no.
It's just like the road.
It was just the road. They
Yeah, no
closed the
hills
road
or
off. There was
anything.
no people there, and that was hilarious. You could slide it. It was the most confidence-inspiring car I think I've ever driven.
Really?
Nice.
Oh God, I loved it. I was doing burnouts in it,
Yeah.
and all kind of things, and it was power slide, and it was just lovely.
The Goodwood thing is amazing to me, because over here it's like there are some people that race, but it's more of like driving the car and experiencing it. And then you watch Goodwood, and it's like guys in 250 GTOs banging into each other and flying off into the barrier in these irreplaceable cars, and you're like, "Duh, what?"
Did you see it last week?
Yeah,
When
the guy crashed and bent the steering wheel.
in the 64
Yes.
GTO.
Yeah, unbelievable.
You know, this is a conversation we have quite a lot. Is why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Because I'm with you. Historic racing to me is about demonstrating the cars.
Yeah, yeah.
If you want to do that, go get a Carrera Cup
Yeah,
car
yeah, exactly
or
right.
something.
Yeah.
Don't, you know, the lead for the TT, one guy in a E-Type hit the other guy in a Cobra and spun him off. I think it's historic racing. It's very much like you. Historic racing is about demonstrating the cars.
You're right.
Saying that, I did end up in hospital in 2006.
It's a recurring theme.
Yeah. It actually was one of the 3 concussions that the doctors cited when they retired me. I was racing, I did the TT in 2005. I'd never driven anything like that
Yeah.
before. So Piero and I did it, and we won. I was like, this is easy. Yeah. Went back in 2006, and the first lap past the pits went out the back, and I found this out 9 years later. The E-Type, apparently the E-Type, the drive shaft is like, it holds the top part of the suspension on, so the drive shaft breaks. so
Okay.
the wheel falls
No,
off.
right.
Wheel fell off.
Nice.
I didn't know this. Woke up in hospital. Like literally.
In a vintage event.
At Goodwood.
Yeah.
Wake up. Where the hell am I? I look over, and then the next bed to me is Adrian Newey. I'm like, come on. And apparently, I said to him, Adrian, what are you doing here? He's like, I had a crash. What are you doing here? I was like, I guess I had a crash. You okay? I think so. Oh, good. Adrian, what are you doing here? I think I had a crash. You? Well, I think I had a... And we just kept repeating the same lines over and over, and eventually... Oh, yeah.
2 days later.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that was one of the... What happened, that when the car went in, the seat snapped,
Yeah.
and my helmet hit the roll cage. And Alan DeCadney was telling me last week, he said, I came round there, and I was 3 wide with, I think, John Fitzpatrick and somebody else. He said, and you're lying in the middle of the track, and you're hanging out of the door unconscious. He said, luckily Fitz lifted and allowed me to pass you. Otherwise, I'd probably have killed you, old boy. Christ, okay.
You bring up the time in the hospital. We haven't had this discussion. So I have this theory. Every Lifetime movie of the week, when the person, the ice skater comes out of the coma.
You go to ice skating?
I go to ice skating.
Sean used to ice skate.
Yeah.
Figure skate.
The first thing that
Blades of Glory?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. The figure skater comes out of the coma, and the first thing the doctor says is, "You'll never skate again." And I have this theory that no doctor ever actually says, "You will never do X thing again." What they actually do is the proper bedside manner to give you the scenarios of kind of where you're at in life.
You've
right
never
now.
been with Dr. Trammell, have you?
So that's my question. Is like post Houston, it was kind of your last big one, and was did somebody literally say you cannot race again, or was it more like, look, here's how bad it is, and here's the realities of what you're stepping into?
I don't remember that much about it because I'd actually damaged my brain so
Sure.
badly in that one that I lost 5 weeks of memory.
Wow, okay.
Plus, these snippets come back to me.
I mean, it's not funny, but it's hilarious.
But you've got to laugh.
Yeah.
You've got to laugh.
We had the same conversation with Mimo. Like, he has weird little memories here and there, like playing Xbox with the Taylor brothers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, is that kind of how it was for you?
I remember one thing from the race. Funnily enough, they have the accelerometers in your earpieces to how hard you hit your head. Well, the thing had come out, the cable had come out, and it was digging into my underarm during the race, and it was really annoying me.
Oh, okay.
So I remember that. I was like,
I'm like, thank God I won't need that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Exactly. So, like a couple of weeks ago, I'm going to name drop here.
Sure.
I was having dinner with AJ40, and
that's never going to happen for us.
Yeah.
and I said, AJ, did you call me when I had my accident? He goes, sure did. So I just remembered that. And so you see these little snippets
This was just
out of
a few weeks
nowhere.
ago.
just
Yeah,
come
yeah.
back to you. But I vaguely remember being in Miami. I went to Miami because that's where Dr. Olvey and the whole team there are based. And I'd been in that hospital before with another crash from 2000. And I remembered, so I sat with them, and I was even having problems speaking at the time. Tony, I went to stay with Tony that night. My mum and I flew down. Tony and Lauren picked us up at the airport, and he's like, Jesus Christ, how much did you have? Because I had my walker, all this stuff that I had, my crutches that I had to have.
Hair product, I'm assuming.
No, at that point it was
Wow.
wild. I don't use hair product.
You don't?
I don't use any.
People have asked us that we told you we were going to have dinner with you. Like, find out what he uses.
Yeah, don't use
Really?
any.
Yeah,
No.
just naturally beautiful.
Interesting.
Just
Okay.
it's like
Just a gorgeous man.
It's still growing.
It still grows. That's a good.
It still
that's a good
grows.
problem to have.
At my age, it still grows. And Tony said to me afterwards, he said, I knew you were in trouble because I went to the house and I slept for 18 hours. And this is a month plus after the accident.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I went and I did the impact test, and apparently I scored 5% on my reaction test.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Solid, solid job.
Hard.
When you take your baseline, do you deliberately kind of fail it a little bit? No, you
I
never
would
do
never
that.
do that, but I
Okay.
literally 5%.
Jesus.
This is what they told me later.
Yeah.
And they did what's the one, the tube you go in? Is that the CT scan or the? I should know this.
I've never
The
been in
one.
one.
Touch wood.
Yeah, but that's
That's a good
MRI.
MRI.
Yeah,
so I go
MRI,
in there, and this MRI, because of the detail, was an hour long. Mine was going. It makes all these noises.
Yeah. I've done.
And I went back out, and they were asking me questions. Olvey was, and he said, right, I said, can I fly? All I'm interested in right now is, can I fly transatlantic? I've been flying around the US, but can I fly? He's like, yeah, you're fine. Go home. So I jumped on the plane. Took him a week to read this MRI, and him and Trammell, Dr. Trammell, had been and put me back together a few times.
Yeah.
And their attitude was like, right, if we do this, we can get you back in the car.
Yeah.
I broke my pelvis, and 3 weeks later, I was back in the car. It was that kind of, okay, what
Yeah.
can we do to get you back in the car?
Yeah.
And I just noticed there was a different attitude from these boys. It was like, So I got home and I got a phone call saying, he's like, listen, man, we've looked at this, and he said, there's too much damage. He said, it's not, you can't do it anymore. And I remember I was sitting in Scotland in my office, in the house that I'd never actually lived in. And I was sat in the one chair that I could sit in because I'd broken my back as well as everything. So I'm lying in this thing, and I just kind of sat there, and I was like, wow, shit, okay. And it wasn't sort of I kind of knew, to be honest. I knew before. And every time before I'd been like, yeah, right. And this time I honestly thought, oh.
From just sort of being in a fog, or?
Yeah, I knew it was bad, and I knew the back was, I could have come back from that, but the ankle was really messed up, but the head thing, when he said that. So I went downstairs. My mum and dad were staying with me at the time. I went downstairs and kind of told them. I have to tell a funny story about that. This old house that I had, it was a big old place, and I was on my crutches one day, and Marino was staying with me, and he was in the gym at the bottom thing, and I'm coming down the stairs, and he had to go through the gym. The only stairs I could use because of the crutches was through the gym to the kitchen. So and I get to the bottom, and Marino's doing, I think he was doing like sit-ups or something. He turned around and he goes, "Well, son, you're not sneaking up on anybody, are you?" It's like, dick.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I phoned Chip. I called Chip, and I called the guys on the team. I called Scott, I called Tony. And Chip was a hard call, actually. Chip was a really hard call. I mean, trust me, at the time, I can still count on the times I've spoken to Chip on the phone. It's probably less than 20 in the whole time I drove for him. Yeah, it's just, that's not the relationship,
Yeah.
And so I phoned him. He goes, and he was brilliant.
So you guys talked a little bit, like, if you're calling him, he knows something's up already. Yeah,
but honestly, when things like that happen, Chip is the guy you want. If you've hurt yourself, or with somebody's with Justin or Dan, and Chip is the guy. If any team member or team member's family is in trouble, is got health issues, or Chip is the guy. And so I call him, and he goes, "Hey man, you okay?" I was like, and he knew by my voice. My voice was already screwed up anyway. And he goes, "Hey, I'm in the car here, and my buddy's going to lunch. I need to call you back." I was like, "Okay." So an hour later, he calls me back. Goes, "What's going on?" And I told him, and he was like, he almost started to hyperventilate at the other end of the phone. And I thought, what's he going to say? And he's like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, and I thought, okay, he's like, "Okay, what can I do?" And that was it. What can I do? And over the next sort of month or so, we came up with this idea of me working with a team and stuff. But he was from the day one, he was brilliant. Yeah. And that was it.
That was that. And there we go. Scene.
Yeah.
All right, so while we've got food in front of us, we got to ask the Taco Bell.
Sean didn't know that Dixon loves Taco Bell. That's one of the things I know about him.
To me, the story was always, everybody always says, "Why were you guys at Taco Bell?" I'm like, no, to me, this is the race driver lifestyle. You spend hours when you win pole doing all kinds of stuff, and you don't actually get to eat properly, so it's midnight and you're going to Taco Bell. I didn't know. Dixon has a Taco Bell thing. We'll ask him about that, of course. Yeah. But
he will tell you, if for his last meal, he would order Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Huh.
And now he doesn't eat red meat, and he still goes to Taco Bell.
Well, that meat's brown.
Training, but
it's gray.
It's gray.
Gray meat.
Yeah, so we were, as you say, Dixon had got pole that day.
Yep.
He was doing media stuff till past 9 o'clock. My wife was there. She came over with a little one for the month of May. Emma was there with Poppy, their oldest. And the girls wanted to go to dinner. So I started texting him, "Hey man, come on, what are we doing here? I'm hungry." He's like, "I'll be there in 20 minutes. Let's figure out where we're going." So we start looking at all the nice places in town. We can go there, we can go there. No, it's closed, it's Sunday. Go there, closed. And Ellie's like, I can make pasta or something. I was like, let's go out. Okay, everywhere's closed. Dixon comes back to the bus lot. He's like, "Where are we going?" I was like, let's go. Come on, we'll go to Taco Bell. I thought, good idea. When you're just so hungry, it's like, it just seems great. So off we go. Oh, actually, at that point, Poppy's like, "Dad, can I come?" And Scott's like, "Hang on, we won't be long, darling. We'll just..." So we jump in his Acura MDX.
Yep, there you go.
I drive.
Okay.
Yep.
This is.
What's his look like? Has he got white or black wheels?
Black wheels.
Okay.
Black.
I went white, black wheels.
Good.
But I thought about murdering it out. Yeah, me and Dixon are cool.
All right.
And it is
cool.
Yeah.
It is
Mint
because Ward is bus driver. took care of it. It's not mint when Dixie's in charge.
Taco Bell wrappers everywhere.
Yeah.
Now, are you fine with Taco Bell? But, like, you're not excited about Taco Bell.
I was at that point. I was hungry. I was
Yeah,
like,
I get it. You just take whatever.
Love this food.
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah,
Come on.
Yeah.
But it's not your thing the way
Well,
it
he
is.
had to, he had to
Yeah.
downplay it so it didn't seem like he was going to be in the healthy one.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
if
sure.
you need to go there, we'll go there.
I'm just thinking what Chip said to me the next morning, which I'll tell you in a minute. So we drive round there to the one on 16th Street. We pull in. Guy's like, "Hey guys, can you hang on a minute?" At the board. I was like, yeah, sure. So I'm in the passenger seat. Dixon's driving, and we're talking about the day and just talking crap as you do. And then I see him flinch. I thought, what the hell? And he's gone to grab the electric window thing to put it up because he sees somebody running round the side of the car. And I hear this commotion. And my first thought is, Kanan, you asshole. And so I look.
It's not funny, dude.
No, and there's this guy, and he's clearly not Kanan, and has a gun in his hand. And he's got it pointed at Dixon's head. And that was it. He's like, give me your wallets and your phones. It's like, I haven't got my wallet. The poor guy, he's built up his courage to rob someone. He robs a Kiwi and a Scotsman, right? It's like, jeez. It's like, I haven't got it. I haven't got my wallet. I haven't got my phone. Dixon's like, I haven't got it, man. He's taking the lead from me. He's like, no, I haven't got my phone here. But he's like, I said, I didn't want to say we've come from the track. I said, we've just come from around the corner. And he's like, well, how are you going to pay for it? And there's another guy at my window at this point, bashing on the window. And the guy's sort of pointing the gun at Scott, pointing the gun at me. It's like, look, we haven't got it. And he looks down, he sees Emma's wallet there. Scott goes, there you go, we can have that.
Oh.
There you go.
So he hands Emma's wallet
Does
over.
she know that much?
She does, because
Okay.
they've still got it as evidence, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And then I guess a car came up behind us. They freaked and ran away. So then Scott's got a call. He's like, I'm going to call the police. So I turn and go, hey. The whole time we haven't raised our voices above what we're talking about here. I turn and go, hey. They record this stuff. Play it cool.
Ever the media professional.
And he
That's
goes,
right.
Yeah, no, it's
because I have been the subject of that years ago. Anyway. And
Oh,
right.
yeah, right.
I forgot about
Yeah,
that.
I see.
All right, we'll come back.
Well, that's
And he goes,
all right.
he's like, hi. We've just been robbed at gunpoint on Taco Bell on 16th Street. And I can hear the woman at this point, are you guys okay? And she's like, yes, we're fine. We'll wait. No problem, we'll wait here. She's like, get a car at Taco Bell at 16th Street. So, yeah, the guys showed up and more guys showed up. And within 2 hours,
They found the guys.
they found the guys.
Now, at what point, or was there a point in the process where the situation became different because of who you guys were?
Because in Indianapolis, of all places, and that in the month of May, it's like the time to be.
I have to say, probably as soon as the first cop showed up and clocked Dixon and I, he's like,
Oh, really? Was that kind
yeah.
of okay?
They were great.
Yeah,
Honestly, they were great.
Sure. What happened to the kid? Or kids?
Good question. There was a court thing recently. I don't know what the result of it was.
Yeah.
But they were kids, man. It was sad.
No, I
that
believe
was
that, yeah.
sad.
Well,
that
but
was
that puts you. I mean, you're at a place in your career where you can look back and think of all the dumb shit you did at that age. Does that change your perspective when you think of, because how old were they? They were like 18 and 19.
no,
or
they were
something?
14 and 15
Oh,
years old.
Okay.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, these kids can go. I mean, they could do some real time and have something that's really haunts them for the rest of their life. Does that change your perspective, that kind of age, and sort of what you want done?
Yeah. There was a part right away I was like, you assholes and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then it became like, oh, this is sad.
Well, it's like a reality check of like what some people have to go through or
Yeah.
do put themselves through. It's crazy.
I talked to my wife about it, and she was very much like, these poor kids, and that gave me perspective
Yeah.
on it. But that was it.
I've never thought of a Taco Bell as like a sketchy.
Yeah,
as a
well,
sketchy place. You're right.
I know
exactly
who's
right.
not sponsoring our podcast.
So Chips, like the next day, obviously we couldn't talk about it because it was an impending case, and now that it's gone we can talk about it. So we were in lockdown, and of course everybody wants to know the story, and Chip comes in the truck, or trucks, comes round. He comes into the driver lounge, and I'm sitting there looking at data from the day before.
Right.
Scott's sitting there. He closes the door. That's never a good sign. He goes, let me get this right. You two supposed athletes were at Taco Bell last night? He goes, they're like, yes, Chip. He's like, uh-huh. Because you pair of assholes. He goes, you deserve everything you get. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. I heard you guys got your food for free.
We did.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Well worth it.
It was awesome.
That's how we were talking about it today, because we were talking about this lovely wine we had that night with our free Taco Bell. It was great. Oh, it was lovely. Cracking bottle of wine. Yeah. The funniest thing of the whole evening was Dixon thought his wife's wallet cost $250.
Oh.
I googled it in the parking lot. I went, no. He's like,
Yep.
So you had like a broken leg, right? And then some guy broke into your house 10 years, 12, whatever years ago, and you chased him. Give me that. I've always wanted to hear the real version.
I didn't have a broken leg at the time, but I was sitting. It was morning after a Cleveland race, I think it was. And Cleveland just used to beat the crap out of you. And I was just sitting there. I'm literally sitting in my underwear with a t-shirt on, eating my breakfast, going, I can barely lift the spoon. I was just, ugh. And some dude comes in the house. I'm like, hello? He's like, hey. And then he starts telling me he's got a message from God. I thought, oh,
Here it goes. Yeah.
dear. And he was looking for Ashley. He, I think, realized that he probably should leave. He started to leave, and I thought, well, no, screw this. So I jump in the car and I head off, and I called the cops, and I'm sort of getting. They're like,
So
okay,
you're like chasing this guy down in your
well,
car.
he wasn't going particularly quick. I was in my
Dario Franchitti, so he's going to get him. Yeah.
I was in my Acura RL.
There
I'll tell you how long ago it was.
There you go.
And I'm like, so I'm talking to the cops, and they're like, okay, where are you now? I'm like, going down this road. I'm just coming up to the four-way stop. I'm like, do you want me to spin him out? And they're like, no.
Please don't do that.
Please.
You're like, no, I got it. I got it.
So I follow this guy into town, and there's parking lot, and of course.
Does he know you're chasing him?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So the next thing, the police all show up.
Yeah.
It's then I realize that I'm still wearing my underwear.
Luckily, this is pre-TMZ.
Yeah.
Oh, no. They were.
Oh, was that?
They were
that
there
was
for
still
all that.
tabloids.
I'm like,
Yeah.
ah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I
shit.
call Ashley. I'm like, can you bring like some clothes? She's like, what?
Yeah.
And yeah, that was it. He was a little odd.
Weird dude. Yeah.
Nice. You mentioned your ankle being a little bit screwed up some days. I just like the name. Do you ever feel that pain in your ankle and just go, Gunselman?
Guns on it. That was the other ankle.
Oh, okay. So what doesn't hurt, I guess, on a daily basis? Yeah.
Guns on it. It's funny because Kelby Krause.
It would work.
Kelby Krause, our PR
So,
guy at the
we'll,
team.
We'll go back a step. So Larry Gunselman was an Xfinity, what would now be Xfinity driver that you
Yeah.
had a good tussle with at, I forget what
No,
track.
I didn't.
Well, you guys just got into it, right?
I
or
was at
something?
Talladega going down the back straight
Right.
in
This is the NASCAR days.
the
yeah.
nationwide cars it was at the time. I had
Yeah.
a tire blowout. Thank
Yeah.
you, year. And it came inside the car. Literally, the carcass of the tire. Ba-doom.
Right.
It's like, damn. So I spin, going into turn 3 at Talladega, and go down onto the grass.
I like how you're saying it like it's not 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, well,
and
honestly,
crazy.
it wasn't a big deal. Once nobody had hit me, I got onto the grass.
I guess when you drive Indy cars.
Trust me, a restrictor plate car wasn't all that.
That's awesome.
So I'm sitting there on the grass. It's gone yellow. Something like 10 seconds later, I'm about to undo the belts to
Yeah.
get out of this thing.
Yeah.
This guy hits me broadside in the door.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
He was 10 seconds behind the belt.
Yeah,
It's
right.
been yellow for 10 seconds.
Yeah, right.
So he takes the footwell of the car, which was what, 24 inches or
Yeah,
something? I don't know.
yeah.
And it's now this big.
Nothing.
And my feet are on top of each other, and he's broken my ankle. And then the safety crew made me walk to the ambulance. That was fun. And so Kelby Krause, who's not the PR guy at,
Kelby.
the team, and was when I was there. He sometimes he'll literally go, Gunselman.
Yes. All right. Kelby and I are on a new level.
Larry, I thought my dad was going to kill him in the hospital.
That's awesome.
Oh, that one hurt.
Why'd he crash? Like what?
I don't know.
Yeah, just
If somebody paid him to take a hit out of me or something, I don't
right.
know. But it was the most bizarre thing. Yeah, that one. I actually remember the thought going through my head when that horrible disorientated feeling you get when you've had a big crash. I thought, I've got to stop doing this.
Yeah.
Really?
I nearly retired on the spot.
Huh.
I was nearly done. Yeah.
How do you look back at that year?
The NASCAR.
Okay, well that says a lot.
Yeah, done. Okay.
Fuck it.
You know what? I'm not being politically correct. I learned a hell of a lot because I went from winning the 500 finally, winning the championship that year, to not qualifying on a road course at Sonoma. I went to Sonoma, and I remember afterwards not qualifying and sitting with Chip in the truck and looking at him, and he just shook his head. He's like, and the guy's like, oh yeah, he's not driving the car right. The next week, in the Nationwide car, qualified pole at Watkins Glen
Yeah.
against Jimmy and
And all the good
Jimmy and Robbie Gordon.
You and Robbie Gordon like battled all day.
Yeah,
in that race.
Jeff.
Yeah,
Jimmy too. He was right on the.
Yep.
I was like, he probably could have taken me out at any point, but Jimmy being Jimmy, he didn't. But I learned a lot, and I learned how to drive a car out with my comfort zone.
Yeah.
I think part of my strength was sort of making the car do what I wanted, setting it up to make it do what I needed it to do.
Yeah.
I learned I couldn't do that.
But with
in
a
those.
big heavy stock car, you have to manipulate it.
Yeah, there's just times it's going to be.
Yeah.
And I learned to drive around that. So when I came back to IndyCar, I was able to drive a much more oversteery car on the ovals, and I was able to compromise and drive around problems more than I was before. And I learned a mental toughness because, again, I'd gone from
Yeah.
being the IndyCar champion to being like, this guy sucks.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I mean, genuinely, are those moments where you're like, oh, maybe I really am only good in this one little box, and just sort of hating yourself for it?
I'd driven sports cars. I'd won. It was a good time because we'd won Sebring 12-hour with the Acura.
Yeah, that's right.
IndyCar Championship 500 and Daytona 24 hours in that little space of time. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And then I just, the problem is we grow up driving cars that are, you start off and you drive a car, it's a little bit quicker, it's got more downforce, it's got more power, very similar thing. It handles, it feels, it gives you the same feedback, but
there's a principle that still applies.
same principle. I got in those things.
Yeah.
I had no
Nothing.
idea.
Yeah.
Nothing I'd learned prepared me for that. And I went straight in at the top level. I was like,
the hardest version of that in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
And the fact the car sucked
Yeah,
at that
the
time
program wasn't great at the time.
was a contributing factor, but I probably could have figured it out after a good few years, but it came down to the fact that when I drove that car, I did not get a buzz.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
didn't.
fair enough. Yeah.
And I probably could have stayed.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Well, but if you're not enjoying it, and it's every weekend, and you're never going to get away from it.
and I never wanted to go back to IndyCar, funnily enough.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not going back. No, I'm not doing it. And I went to Detroit to watch Marino driving
In LMS.
in the LMS.
Yeah.
And I went and stood at turn 1 and watched Dixon go through the first lap, and I went, I'd been sort of saying this, and I don't want to do that anymore.
Back to the crazy girlfriend.
And I sat in the tail lift of the Ganassi truck and chat with Mike Hull, and Mike's like, well, what's going on? I laid it out, and I was like, Mike, I didn't want to do this. Now there's no decent drives, so I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to drive some box. And he looked, he goes, hey, not so fast. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, Weldon just told us this morning he's leaving. So we might have a seat. And then Chip and I, we literally did a deal behind the Dixon's pit, and it took 3 minutes.
Really?
And then we spent the next 18 hours. He's like, hey, you need to sign this napkin saying you're going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not signing a napkin. It's not legally binding. Sign the napkin. 18 hours this went on for. I was like, dear God. Eventually he turned to Mike. He goes, I'm going to dinner. He goes, this guy won't sign the napkin. You find someone that will. And that was it. Chip walked off, and the next morning we had a fully executed contract.
Proper, yeah.
And
That was
that
the way
was
to
it.
go. Okay.
Yeah. Kind of along those lines, I always wonder, because I'm sure you have plenty of these, but the deals that you almost got, or you like, maybe I should do that or I shouldn't do that. Obviously, you're a high-profile driver, so a Penske or a Ganassi seat would be a possibility.
I'll let you answer, but I have a specific question about that.
I'm just curious, tell me a Dario Franchitti almost ended up at this program story. And you have one in mind because you're smiling already.
I've got several.
Yeah.
McLaren test driver, 97.
That's right. Yeah.
I've got the contract at home still.
That's cool.
I finally spoke to Ron Dennis for the first time in 20 years.
And to put some perspective, the deal at the time was it was 97, so you were finishing with Hogan.
I just started with Hogan.
Okay, you were just starting with Hogan.
And
you were under Mercedes.
I was under Mercedes.
Yeah.
I tested the McLaren end of 95.
Right.
And they were saying all the right things. Start 97, I'd gone to America. And I get this phone call, you need to come to Woking and see Ron. Okay. And I went, and I didn't like the deal they're proposing, so I said no.
Yeah, yeah.
And literally...
Because the idea was you were going to test McLaren and run Champ Car.
They were going to pay for Champ Car. They were going to
pay
the budget. They were going to sponsor the car, and I was going to test the week. So
it was going to be like a West Champ Car kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they had open testing in
Yeah, yeah.
Formula One. So
Yeah.
I would race Sonoma last night.
Yeah.
I'd get somehow back to London. They'd fly me in the team plane to wherever. We'd test Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They'd fly me back on Concorde or something, and that's the way this was going to work. And I was like, nah.
How old were you?
23.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, nah. And so that was near one.
Yeah. Hindsight. You still
Wouldn't
agree?
have changed it.
Wouldn't have changed it.
No,
Okay, good.
wouldn't have changed it because David, Coulthard, and Hakkinen were there forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
they weren't going to leave.
yeah. So I didn't. No.
Oh, I see what you're saying, because it's not like you would have replaced one of them.
Yeah.
No,
So
I was going to be the test driver.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Um,
And that would have diluted your energy into the Hogan deal. Yeah, yeah.
And I would never have. Yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't have. Sure.
What else? Oh yeah, NASCAR. I was the year before, so end of 06, I was negotiating with Chip to drive the car, and then Montoya
Yeah.
got let go
Back
from
in.
McLaren and did the deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chip phoned me, goes, anybody but him, man. He goes, we've got history, and I got to look after him. I said, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. I'll do another year. And then I beat him to the 500 in the championship. So I was like, but yeah, that was close the year before. And
So the NASCAR eye had been there for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I had a meeting with Childress in 2007. I flew to see Richard. I flew my helicopter, and I was flying myself around at the time. And during the month of May, and I flew down to his place. I had a meeting with him, and I'm flying home, and I got caught in weather. I'm stuck in the mountains. I'm supposed to test at the Speedway tomorrow. How can I tell Michael Andretti that I'm stuck in the mountains of North Carolina? He's going to figure something out.
Right.
And I'd gone to see Ray Evernham way back at the start of the 2000s as well.
Yeah.
So I'd kind of had an eye on it.
Now, was that because of an interest in NASCAR, or just that there was more money there?
Yeah,
or?
and interested in
Yeah.
doing it. And
Yeah.
But I'd never been to a race. When I first drove the car at Talladega, it was the first time I'd ever been at a...
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What else? There's a possible Penske deal I knew nothing about, because when I left Hogan to go to Team Green,
Yeah.
Carl and Roger had done they were doing some deal that I was going to
Yeah.
become the driver at Penske. Didn't know about that at all. Porsche at Le Mans.
Yeah.
Oh,
The 919.
Those
awesome.
rumors. I was
Like,
really
that's a
excited
recent
about
thing?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did.
For
I
the
went
P1.
to Weissach in 13,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and we kind of. I said I'd like one more year, please, and they said that's perfect, because right now we've got two cars. We're going to run a third. We're on the third. You're in.
So, had there not been a Houston, you think that would have happened?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
it. Oh yeah.
I don't know.
yeah. That's the right year for
Yeah.
it.
So that was a sad one, because I wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Interesting. You did finally do some testing in F1 in 2000 with Jaguar, but you were kind of busted up at that point, as I remember. So it didn't.
The car was a box.
The story was the pace wasn't quite there, and I assume there were a bunch of reasons for it.
Yeah, the pace wasn't there. There were several reasons. One, I was really, and I didn't realize at the time. I just had a big shunt, so
Yeah.
I had fairly big head injury.
Yeah.
I had a problem with my neck, which is not what you want driving an F1 car.
Yeah,
I had a trapped nerve in my neck from the accident too, so I couldn't hold my head up. They didn't want me there.
Yeah.
I had been forced upon them by those above.
Okay. Copy.
They didn't want me there, and the car was a box, so it was a real.
Just not a good environment.
I saw one recently for sale. I was going around JD Classics, and they had one. How much do you want for that? And the guy's like, well, what do you want that for? I said, I want to buy it and throw it off the balcony you've got it on.
We'll film it.
Exactly.
We're involved. Yep, we're in on that.
Yeah, so that was a real shame.
So you, one of the things we talked about is that you have a pretty cool car collection, and I am assuming it's because back in the early days of your career, there was a lot of tobacco money, so the sponsorships were through the roof, and you bought an F40, which is awesome. Throughout the career, obviously, the sponsorship's gone down quite a bit. Would you say that, in your experience, did the salaries come down as well, like what was expected, because of it's just so much harder to find those sponsors?
As a rule, yes.
Yeah.
As a rule, they did. I was fortunate in the deals I was able to do.
Yeah.
Having, excuse me, the sponsors I did, and then obviously with the Target program was a good program.
Yeah.
The tobacco money was lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
sort of
those were good days.
Yeah.
From like the days of Cool to 2013, the pay cut, so to speak, for you wasn't so bad, but it might be there for others.
There was some guys definitely took some pain.
Yeah.
So yeah, we used to call the house in Scotland the house that Cool built. But yeah, those were. It was different. We were looking at Super Speedway was on in the press room the other day.
The
at
IMAX
Sonoma.
movie?
Yeah.
Oh, that was a good one.
Actually, it was on at Honda. It was
Yeah.
we're having
Yeah,
lunch
yeah, it
at
was
Honda and
Mario.
we were playing
Yeah.
it, and you just look at the names on the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some cool days.
Budweiser, DKNY,
Yeah.
Haviland and
Oh,
all those,
Haviland.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's the way it was.
So you bought an F40. Was that your first big?
No, my first big car was when I won the McLaren Autosport Young Driver, I went out and bought myself a Golf GTI.
Yeah.
It was, how old would it have been?
Should have got a Civic, but okay.
5 or 6 years old. 1988 it was. But it was 92, it was a 1988. And I that got stolen. It was such a cool looking car. And I then had a diesel, little Peugeot diesel thing that, hitting around in that. And then I did my deal with Mercedes to drive DTM.
Yeah.
And I got a company car. So I went from driving this complete box to the C36.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Yeah.
This thing did 180 miles an hour on the
time.
Autobahn, of course.
Yeah, safely.
Yep.
Yep.
And I bought a Speedster, Porsche, a 3.2 Speedster. Cool. And I kept it, and then I went through a stage of buying some couple of Ferraris. And then when I did my deal with Barry Green, I bought a brand new 355 Spider, which I still have.
Yeah, I read that about you.
Yeah, my first. It was a signing bonus.
Wow, that kind of money.
Back in the, it was awesome. I'm like, this is cool.
Is this really happening?
Yes.
Yeah.
So and then I bought the F40, and I have an issue, to be honest.
Yeah, can't resist.
I just love cars, and
Yeah, for sure.
I buy stupid cars that. Yeah, I mean the F40, 18 years.
Yeah. Would you ever sell it?
It'd be tough.
Yeah.
It would be so tough. I love it. I took it on the Top Gear track 2 weeks ago, and it was so leery. It was so much fun. Big, long power oversteer moments, and it's like, yeah. And then I drove it home through the middle of London, which wasn't nearly as much fun.
Sure.
Nah, that car and I have a lot of history.
Yeah.
I found pictures the other day on Instagram of the day that it showed up.
That's what. Yeah, I saw that.
It was. I bought it in May. We're racing in Rio, and the guy who was looking for it, he bought it for me, and I didn't get to go back till July, first week of July, and I flew into Glasgow Airport. My dad came and picked me up, and my little cousin. I'm like, hey, you should come to Glasgow Airport. And this F40 comes off the truck. My dad's like, whose is that, son? That's mine, Dad. Oh. And then I drove it on the motorway, gave it the beans, and it blew the clutch.
Nice. All right.
I was like,
a good start.
yeah, this is awesome.
Now you mentioned your dad. Maybe he'd want to go after Gunselman. Like going back to like the go-kart track days. Was he that dad that would like fight with every kid or every other parent that got in your way?
He never fought with any parents.
Okay. I can assume that's just what all Scottish parents do.
Yeah, nah.
Like they're just
some of them definitely do.
Yeah. Okay.
No, he didn't. It was that group at the time. Bert, Alan McNish's dad, Duncan, DC's dad, my dad. They were sort of driving up and down the road and doing all this crazy stuff to make it happen, as fathers do. Throughout the world. One guy, when I moved up to the senior class, was trying to, how'd I put this? He was having a bit of a discussion with me because I think I'd passed him or I'd hit him
senior
or
class,
something.
so you're
and
like 15.
I was 15. He was 21.
Old
and
man.
he was about to. He picked me up out of the cart by my helmet.
Oh, good.
Yes, that's a good start.
I was only. By this time, I was really short.
Yeah.
Like McNish short. And the guy's about to sort of start setting about me. And my dad and my uncle standing there and just tap him on the shoulder, and he turned around and left.
Fair enough.
But yeah, no, my dad. When I started
Is he an
racing,
imposing guy?
what's that?
Is he an imposing guy?
Yeah. When I left karts, my dad sort of gave me, if that's the right word, to Father David Leslie and said, right. And after that, the most I think he ever really commented on one of my races was, well, I left somewhere and he went, no, that wasn't very good, son, was it? That was it.
Yeah.
He would come to the races, and he had friends in the IndyCar paddock. He still does to this day. They go over and play golf with him, all that. And he just, to me, he was the sort of the perfect racing dad. Him and Alan Webber should run a school for racing parents, how not to be a dick.
So there was a documentary that came out about IndyCar racing years ago called Driven. You referred to it as awful, and I just got it. What's your problem? You don't like good cinema?
Drivel. Oh my
Oh,
God.
there it is.
Yeah.
That was the funniest. Because that was the 99 season.
Right.
So Montoya and I are bashing. They're going into this championship, and you'd be on the podium having one race, and there'd be nobody there because they're all down at the fake podium.
Right.
Where Stallone was like, yeah.
Have you ever done like a recon lap and thrown quarters onto an apex?
I'm Scottish. That's a waste of money.
Okay, that's
Jeez.
good. All right,
No.
I like it. Okay.
Remember, he's
No.
only meeting with us because we said we'd pay for dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
I mean, oh
Very
God,
good
that
point.
film. It's just such a shame because it was a real chance to do something.
Yeah.
And then came Memo Moreno.
Yeah, and then it just all went. Chip was in it. He had a starring role.
Yeah.
TK, I think, was in it.
But so here's so you've got to tow the champ car flag at the time, and so you guys are all going to like premieres and stuff like that. You have to be the good boy and pretend like this is okay.
This is helping the sport.
Like you're helping your sport by saying, yeah, it's not dog. And
We hadn't seen it at that point. This is going to be awesome. Rocky's doing it. It can't be bad.
Yeah.
So you went to the premiere with no clue.
No.
Oh, God. And there must have been a bunch of you guys, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Can you imagine?
Actually, did I go to the premiere? I think I might have given it a swerve.
Well, you've been to a few at that point, so
yeah,
maybe you're over
actually
it,
not
but-
at that point.
Oh, no,
a couple at that
sort of,
point.
okay.
Actually, I got together in '99. Actually, the same time as the F40. Like literally, almost to the day.
Huh?
Right.
Okay.
So
And I was just like, oh my God.
That's to say, like, lights came up. Who was the first one to look to their left?
Yeah, like, did you?
That didn't happen, did it?
It was horrific.
It's like Herta. Brian Herta's like, no.
No.
Yeah.
Shit's like single tear, though, clapping for no reason.
Standing up.
Yeah.
No.
Hey, that's Oscar-worthy stuff right there.
Yeah. They really put their heart and soul into
Oh
it.
my God.
All right.
Yeah.
What's the number one movie? Or somewhere in the top 5.
I've at questions like that. I mean, I love stupid stuff. I love Happy Gilmore.
Okay, wait.
I just think of that because obviously
Shooter McGavin.
the
Yeah, yeah.
shooter. I mean,
Do you ever watch movies and do lines?
I could do James Bond like
Okay.
crazy, you know. Like I used to just watch, like at school, instead of doing homework, I would watch James Bond films at night on my VHS,
It's research.
complete with the commercials in the middle. Fast forward through that. I could also do the lines for the Ford Sierra commercial that came on, but yeah.
So Braveheart's obviously number 1 on the movie.
Braveheart was good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was bad. You had that look like I haven't seen it yet. I was like,
Oh no,
you
I remember when it
motherfucker.
came out.
Dario Franchitti, you asshole.
Yeah. No.
Why don't you love your country?
How dare you? I remember going to watch it in Falkirk, which was one of the battles actually.
Right.
And people were leaving the cinema going, let's find some English to kill. Like, oh my God.
Well, because it could go the other way. I mean, like in America, we had no idea who William Wallace is. But
Right.
like in Scotland, presumably everybody does. And
He
so you
didn't
could.
have an Australian accent.
Fair
Weird.
enough.
Shocking.
Fair enough. Nor was he an anti-Semite. But somehow that's getting edited. That's staying in.
Staying in. Staying in for sure. So when we were talking about who did you get the phone book thing?
Oh, that's from my German friend.
Okay, yeah. So a friend of Sean's and then a friend of ours. We were telling him that we were going to interview you, and both of them had the exact same quote that they love your accent and they could listen to you read a phone book.
Huh.
So we were actually going to
Has
bring
anyone
you
ever said?
a
Because now
phone book.
we've heard it. We've literally heard it from 2 people in 2 days.
Damn.
Has this been said to you?
Yeah.
What about? Are you a hip hop guy?
No.
Rap music?
Nah, I'm kind of. I like you too. That kind of.
Oh,
Yeah.
of course you do.
Yeah.
You too.
I do. I like a bit of you too. Like.
That's okay. That's fair
Yeah.
enough. If we gave you rap lyrics to recite for the ladies,
Oh.
would you do it?
I'd have a go.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. Let me open this up.
Scott Dixon knows every word to Ice.
Yes, you just gave
Oh,
a breakthrough.
I'm
right
sorry.
There. No,
Scott
go
Dixon
on.
knows Ice Ice Baby is his favorite song. When Vanilla Ice started following me on Twitter, he was devastated until he started following him the next day too. But when he was a young impoverished child in New Zealand,
Sure.
he had a job driving a minivan around for a chemical company delivering like car cleaning products.
Yeah.
And it had a cassette deck, and the radio didn't work, and the only thing in the cassette deck was Ice Ice Baby the single.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so he literally knows all the
So it's
moves.
just on repeat.
And
The
Yeah.
whole thing.
yeah, so get him to do that, he will do
That's
it.
definitely happening.
All right. That's
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
time
Thank
I'm
you.
in a car and it comes on, I have to call him.
You have to know. Yeah, I know.
4 o'clock in the morning.
It's
on.
All right.
Oh,
So
here we go.
we've got 3 lyrics. Now you don't have to. We don't. In fact, we encourage you not to rap them.
Yeah.
That's
just
good.
recite them.
Just Dario reading some
Dario
words.
reading some great rap
go.
lyrics. Our first one is
hand-
from. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this
Should I do my voiceover voice?
Yeah. Voice over voice, please.
Now that I
So
do some TV
Number
work.
1 is it's from our man Ice Cube.
Drunk as hell, but no throwing up. Halfway home, and my pager's still blowing up. Let's get Marco to read this. I am a god, so hurry up with my damn message. Was that massage?
Massage.
Yeah.
Try it
English
again.
is so hurry up with my damn massage. In a French-ass restaurant, hurry up with my damn croissants.
That's Kanye West. It's lyrical to God.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was a clear black night, a clear white moon. Warren G is on the streets, trying to consume. Warren G, Nate Dogg.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another Scott Dixon.
Oh, is that a thing?
Yeah.
Me and Scott Dixon are just gonna hang out.
No,
He's
he
just
is-
gonna be my friend.
Okay.
Yeah.
He is on it. Yeah, he does it.
Really?
Yeah, he's a
That's
big-
awesome.
Nate D. Warren, he loves it.
Yes.
The LBC.
So your fellow Ganassi guy Joey Hand, we learned his trigger is don't touch his hat.
Yeah.
Although he will violently assault you
Really?
if you touch his hat. What's Dixon's trigger?
His wallet. Don't touch his wallet. He is tighter than 2 coats of paint. He is so tight with money.
Fair enough.
He is. And he's the worst. On the street,
Yeah.
worst driver.
Interesting.
Yeah.
He's, he's big pimping
Is it
because...
because our buddy Andy is the exact same
Yeah,
way.
Andy
He's a
Lally, you
phenomenal
probably
sports
know.
car
Yeah,
driver.
he's terrifying to ride with.
Yeah.
But Andy Lally can fight.
Yeah.
I don't
can.
think Scott Dixon
Yeah.
can fight.
Yeah. It's true.
But Andy's problem is he's just distracted as all hell and doesn't know where he is. Is that what it is with Scott?
It could be.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't like doing it. It's just, yeah. And
Okay.
Yeah, he's a scary one.
Fair enough. So who's your? So we got Scott, obviously. Who's in 2017? Who's your crew?
As in,
As like, who are the guys you are going out with, hanging out on when you're not doing podcasts?
at the racetrack or
just in
Sean
general.
Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the racetrack.
I mean, I guess
Scott,
if you're in
Tony,
Scotland the whole time, you're not.
Yeah,
really,
well-
it's, yeah.
You know, if I'm here, it's my buddy Albert.
Okay.
Kind of resembles either Barry Gibb or Richard Branson, depending what angle you catch him from. Scott, Tony, Scott Harner, Barry Wanzer, Max about, Charlie, we could eat, but definitely Scott, Tony, and Scott and Barry, and Albert would go out and have dinner
That's kind of your guys.
most nights. Yeah.
Is it different now that everybody's married and families and all that?
God, is it?
Yeah, I believe that.
Literally, Watkins Glen at Honda having lunch. PT and I sitting down. Back in the day, it was talk about cars and boats and
Yeah. Well, it's like I think to like late '90s, it's like you, Kanan, Greg,
Yeah.
Pappas. None of you guys are hard on the eyes, and I assume it wasn't a bad time.
But to finish that story, PT and I were talking about reading glasses.
Oh, at just Watkins Glen.
Yeah. Different era.
Really? He's like, yeah, I got these ones from the blah. I'm like, oh, I've got these Oakleys that I got them to put the lenses in and all this. Yeah. And then Stefan Johansson was talking about it yesterday too. He goes, oh man, once you start, I'm like, Stefan, you're over 60. You look like you're 40, but you're over 60, so come on.
It's just part of the deal.
No, back in the day, those were the happiest times.
Yeah, sure.
Those were the because, I mean, we were young.
Yeah.
We were getting paid to do what we absolutely adored. And we got to travel the world. There was a period of 6 months I did not go home.
Yeah. But loved it.
Like Greg and I we'd sort of traveled, and Max and Tony would sort of make cameo appearances in Helsinki, Paris for the go-kart race, Milan.
Yeah.
There's some stories there that I can't tell, unfortunately. They were hilarious. Max and I cracking up, putting Greg in awkward positions of like, just awkward situations, shall we say.
Fair enough.
And it was just wonderful. And then, I hate to be on a downer, but when that ended, when Greg died, life changed like that.
Did that kind of break up the group, so to speak, that you didn't have that nucleus?
It didn't. It didn't break up the group, but life changed in a moment.
In the sense it became more real?
Yeah, it just became serious.
Yeah.
You realized
this could happen.
You realized it could happen, and it had happened, and it just it's never. It was never the same.
Yeah.
And then the next time I drove the car, I had that big accident at Homestead, and then again because of the head injury I suffered, it changed a wee bit more.
Yeah.
So it went from being sort of amazing to pretty crap for a while.
Yeah. Greg had signed with Penske before his accident, and knowing the history that would then ensue with Penske, a couple of years later going IRL, and what at the time became a very oval-based series that slowly transitioned. How do you think Greg would have flourished in that period?
He would have been amazing.
Yeah.
I never saw a guy drive on an oval with such just flair.
Yeah.
I mean, he was doing what Dixon does before it became, it's not the normal, but before it was out there. And, with those champ cars at the time, if you didn't catch it on the first little twitch, it was gone. And Greg would just drive the thing and yaw all the time. It's like, how do you do that? And then people don't realize how good a road course driver he was.
Yeah.
He was very good. The problem was that at the time the Mercedes power plant was not a match for the Honda or the Ford.
Yeah.
Later the Toyota, but it had a light switch power delivery, and he just did well with it. And then you see what Elio did. And I get a little mad at Elio because he never mentions the fact that, hey, I got this drive because of this.
Interesting.
He never does. You never hear him talk about it, and it really pisses me off. You'd think he'd just say,
just an acknowledgement.
Acknowledge it. Just acknowledge it.
Yeah.
He's had a great career, but just acknowledge that, and that really annoys me. I don't know why he doesn't.
Sure.
That took a serious turn, didn't it?
Yeah, that was like,
it does.
Wow.
So none of these notes are. It's like dick jokes.
Actually, okay. Well, you mentioned going on the Top Gear track. We'll put a light flare on it. I would say you, more than anybody else in sort of the open wheel circuit, has done more of the kind of the talk show circuit than anybody, between all the shit you've won, your marital history, all that kind of stuff. It's just put you in more of a public eye. And you look at guys like Letterman, his love of IndyCar is obvious.
Man.
Leno's a car guy.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a memory of you showing up on a morning talk show where it's like they don't know who the fuck you are or what the fuck you're doing, and all they want to talk about is like Ashley Judd and how have you ever pissed in your seat?
Yeah.
Separate
Did you
things.
write their questions? I'll give you an example.
He actually
did.
did. He used to work on TV shows.
Yeah, I come from TV. I know these questions. Yeah.
Back in, this is kind of a long intro into this, but so Dan was the target driver.
Yeah.
He left. I got his drive.
Yeah.
He went to Panther. It wasn't a good time for him.
Yep.
He got let go eventually.
Yep.
Which was bizarre. And I stuck up for Dan. Like he absolutely got to be in this series, blah blah blah. And he appreciated that. So we were sitting one day doing a satellite media tour at the Speedway, and I think I'd won 2. I'd certainly won 1 500 at the time, and we're sitting beside each other.
And just for those who don't know what a satellite media tour is, you're sitting in front of a camera, and for the next 5 minutes, it's some morning show in Chicago. 5 minutes later, some morning show in Cleveland, and so on and so on. And you're just doing the same.
You can't see these people.
Yeah, right.
So we sit there and they go, okay, next is, I don't even remember where they were from. Guy's like, so, what's it like being married to Ashley Judd? First question.
Yeah.
Weldon looks and goes, excuse me? He's like, how dare you? This guy's done this, and you ask him that stupid-ass question. He goes, no, done. We're done. Cut him off.
On live television.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, Dan, I love you.
Do you remember the network?
I don't even remember.
We have to find that.
Take that, Poughkeepsie.
It was awesome. It's like, Dan, you're my boy. And he was
nice.
just standing up for me. But yeah, there's times you would go on these shows and they were like, so, and you knew if you went on, I didn't mind them asking questions about Ashley, but just don't make it the first question. At least pretend you're interested in IndyCar.
Right.
And then if you would go on the show with Danica as well, that was always different. It wasn't Danica's fault, she's a good pal of mine. She was a good teammate, but they would be like, you would just sit there. You're like the window dressing.
You're just just waiting.
Well, there was time. I mean, even within the within the circuit, from people who do know. I mean, like I remember, let's call it 05.
Yeah.
Danica Mania had just kind of exploded. You had the Ashley thing, and I remember there was, and I don't remember the race, but it was one of those things where it was oval track. People are coming in on green flag stops. So every time somebody comes down pit line, whoever the pit lane reporter is giving the rundown. Here comes Scott Dixon. He's having a good day. He went from 8th and now he's 5th, and 4 tires and he's done. You come in, and they literally say, Dario Franchitti's also having a good day. He started 9th, now he's 6th. He's also married to Ashley Judd, and he's going to come in, and like they just snuck it in out of fucking nowhere. But it was like, this was this isn't Regis and Kelly. This is the 4 IndyCar fans.
They always would focus on they do a bit with the wives, but they would just be there, and that annoyed some fans, I think, and it wasn't her fault.
No, absolutely.
Absolutely wasn't. The funnest. I always used to love going on Ferguson. I saw Craig a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, just another crazy Scotsman.
I was I flew back to London from Montreal from the Formula E race, and I get on the plane and he's like, and it was like a reunion.
Yeah. Nice.
He was brilliant.
That show never got enough credit because he's a funny guy.
Funny man.
Yeah.
He the first time I went on there was when I'd done the NASCAR deal. I couldn't tell anybody I'd done the NASCAR deal because of contractual obligations and all this crap. And he kept badgering me during the interview, and I did a really, if I don't say so myself, a great job of sort of fending it off, and at the end of it the lights go down and the audience, and he leans in and he goes, "You're a real canny wee bastard, aren't you?"
Wanted to scoop him.
That was funny.
Nice.
Every Champ Car driver raves about how awesome the Champ Cars were. Talk us through like a lap at Road America in a Champ Car.
I have my 99 one at home.
Do you really?
I'm trying to persuade the guys at Honda to give me a live grenade for it. Can you imagine? I'm trying to persuade Chip to lend me the 2010 winner that sits in reception too, but I don't think that's going to happen because I asked him for a road course kit for it too. And he said, because it runs.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And he's like, why do you want that? I was like, well, I want to take it to Knock Hill.
Yeah. There you go.
No.
Yeah.
They were, oh my God, Road America. I've still got the lap record at Road America.
Yeah, that's why I asked about that track.
Yeah. They're getting closer though. They were 1,000 horsepower at the time, and they would never stop accelerating.
Yeah.
They just wouldn't, and they just kept pulling, and the soft Firestones.
Yeah.
They were great, those tires, and it was just how brave did you want to be? Just incredible. They physically, these cars actually are quicker mid-corner. The current generation are faster mid-corner, but those, for sheer just, dear God, from the driving seat, those couldn't be beaten. Yeah. I remember that I drove the Jaguar F1 car, got on the straight at Silverstone, like, this thing's screaming away, and I get to about 160 miles an hour, and it just stops. I'm like, okay. It changed direction amazingly and all that. Just not quite as good as any other car in the grid. But it,
did you mention that?
Did I mention that? Yeah. The first time I drove a Champ car, at Homestead Road Course. Have you run Homestead Road Course?
Yep, crashed there one.
Come out, yep. Me too. Come out of the DTM car with power steering and all that, and I was built to drive a DTM car at that point. I was trained. I had no like muscle. It was all just like like a anorexic model, just an ugly one. And we come through that turn 5, and then there's a long right hander, and you have to take your hand off the wheel. Sequential box. You have to take your hand off the wheel to shift, and I couldn't.
Because if you let go of the wheel,
if I let go of the wheel, it's going to crash.
Right.
And then I get in the straight line, and I shift, and every time I would shift, the car would wander across the track because I couldn't hold it in a straight line with one arm.
Yeah.
Oh God, that was so fast. And around a street course, somewhere like Toronto, it was just God, it was awesome.
Yeah.
On cold tires, trying to get it to hook up is fantastic.
Yeah.
Got to pick up those quarters.
Yeah, that's right.
They're not going to do themselves. With the current body kit that's coming, do you think that's it's going to make the racing a bit more exciting, or is it just another attempt at something?
No, I think it will.
Yeah.
This last one was really ill-advised.
Yeah.
I understand what they were trying to achieve, but to open up those areas, to make them free, they had no idea what levels of downforce these manufacturers were going to produce.
Sure.
Yeah.
And they became ridiculous. These like
wings on wings on
wings.
wings.
Upon wings upon wings upon. And then they said, oh, well, they were breaking suspension. There was talk of breaking wheels.
Yeah.
And it was like, this is silly.
Yeah.
So then they took the tunnels away.
Right.
And then, so therefore, you can't get within 100 miles of the car in front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this new one's got big tunnels, which puts the center pressure back in the middle of the car.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it's going to make it, I think, a lot more racy. They look better.
Yeah.
And the wheel guards were brought in for the right reason, but they never did the job.
Yeah.
And they're hideous.
Yeah.
So,
Awful.
yeah. I like it. I think it's a good, compromise.
You think IndyCar's in a good place right now?
It's not bad.
We were just saying that this weekend's crowd didn't seem to
match
very good, but because we do a lot of the World Challenge races together. Mid-Ohio was the most people I've seen at Mid-Ohio in like 15 years.
I thought Mid-Ohio,
Road America was
last
really
year was
good.
Yeah, Road America looked good. I thought this weekend wasn't bad. I honestly thought.
I would disagree. Yeah.
You think?
But yeah.
Because when I sat and looked from the timing stand, down the back straight, I thought that's not bad.
Yeah.
And then I saw that behind the pits looked okay.
Yeah, right. When IndyCar kind of came back to Sonoma, let's say 10 years ago, I mean, it drew a crowd.
Yeah.
People were very interested in it. And I mean, as anything that's new, it's gonna dip off a little bit. But I would argue, the S's in Turn 7, it's way down from where it was.
The big challenge just now is TV.
Yeah,
TV numbers,
for
sponsor dollars, for sure, right? Because they've got to make sense. And how do you navigate with the changing world?
Yeah.
And
we're fighting a very different automotive culture,
right?
Yeah.
How are they going to do that? I think the teams are. I would like to see more young owners come in, because you're relying so heavily on Roger, Chip, Michael.
Yeah.
You want to see these guys coming in and succeeding.
Yeah.
But again, it comes. You've got to make it. It's got to make sense financially for the sponsor. I was lucky. Dixon and I have this conversation sometimes. It's like, were we lucky or were we lucky?
Yeah.
In our timing, and would you rather be at this point of your career or at the start? And we sort of looking with, jeez,
right?
Yeah. I mean, if you, because it's not like you came from a super wealthy background. If you try to get into open wheel racing today, how do you think the path would have gone?
I don't see how there is a path for me. In that point, I was so lucky that literally my parents remortgaged the house the first year to pay for my first year in cars, and I won the championship. Jackie Stewart they tested me, and he went, yeah. He said, you drive the car, I'll find the money. And we did a future earnings deal where I paid back the money.
Right. Oh, no kidding.
Word to the wise guys: if you do a future earnings deal, do not show up at said person's workshop in a new Ferrari when you haven't paid back all the money yet.
I'm just gonna
meet Mike Schenk.
Gonna write that down real quick.
But that was the only way.
Yeah.
And then I was lucky Mercedes. I was, fortunate. Yeah, I did the job in the car, but
Yeah.
I was really fortunate. And I don't think now that the drivers get the chance very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're with the NSX program with Acura.
Yeah.
How rare is that now?
Oh, no. Yeah. I assume that seat should go to the guy that can't get the IndyCar ride. You know what I mean? I came from sports cars. So to climb up is very,
Very unheard of.
But the
Yeah.
fact, and I'm not blowing smoke up your arse
No, no.
here, you got the drive on merit.
Yep.
It's unusual now.
Well, I just got lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. We talk about it a lot, actually. And it's, especially open wheel, with a million different classes that you can run in this country. There's so many options, and it's hard to know who's the best series to be in. I think that actually kind of hurts the right way to go as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fortunately,
Agreed.
Honda has this new F4 chassis that is fantastic.
Yeah.
They sold 50 of them. It has this stock Civic engine in it.
Is that right?
Yeah, it does.
How close do you follow the junior categories these days?
Not as closely as I did.
Yeah.
But I still, it's part of my job now is really to keep an eye on what's going on and who's
Yeah.
the
Is
really
there
up-and-comers.
Is there a kid that you think kind of gets it more than others right now?
I think Askew's pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's fair.
I saw him race Silverstone, I think, last year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I just thought, even then, I thought, yeah.
Yeah.
What Jeremy Shaw does
Fantastic.
We
is
theoretically have him this year.
Yeah.
So.
badass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
You
the
know,
man.
and
He's the man.
he really is. I'm a little biased here because I've known him since he was really young. It's Colton Herta.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I
sure.
raced against
That's
him last year at Thunder Hill 25 hour.
Yeah.
He's in a P2 car or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, but he's a superstar. And he's driving with Colin Brown, who's been a long-time prototype driver, and
Yeah.
he had the fast lap of that car for the weekend. Pretty impressive.
He needs a year or two, I think.
Sure.
Certainly another year, just to
Sort of get that. But I mean, right out of the
Grow
box,
up.
he was winning. Yeah.
just
Yeah.
to kind of not make those mistakes that they made a mistake at Indy, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. But the speed's there.
Yeah.
Hopefully you'll get to see more of his personality. He's not Colton. He is a funny guy, and
Yeah.
I'd love to see his personality.
That's cool.
More when he's doing interviews and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think he's a really good one for the future.
Sure.
So our next guest will be Dr. Jerry Punch.
I believe it's Jerry Lee Punch, actually.
Pardon me. Wow.
Ooh.
I believe
All right.
he
Man.
is
Is
actually.
it? Okay.
What is he
Based
a-
on.
What is he a doctor of?
He's an emergency surgeon, I think, by trade, but he's been a head of medicine. He's also he actually has a degree in zoology.
You're making that up.
No, it's dead serious. Yeah, but then he went to medical school and he was an ER doctor, so he ran emergency
so he did all
rooms
that.
for.
I wish
So
you guys
I
could see
guess
my
that's-
face right now. I've literally got to pick my.
Yeah.
And he was in Days of Thunder.
Yes, he was.
absolutely.
Yeah, and he
yeah.
consulted on the
He
film.
does Cold Trickle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. My question for him, I guess, is I wanted to know what is he a doctor of, but I mean, it's got to be something about Days of Thunder, doesn't it? I mean, he covered NASCAR for so
Yeah,
long,
yeah.
covered IndyCar, but he was in Days of Thunder. I'd like to know what it was like to be involved in the making and being a consultant in that movie. Because when I first met, I was like, "Oh, there's that guy from."
Another great documentary.
Is that
about
your
motorsports.
racing movie? Is that what you taught you how to drive? You go all the way down on the gas?
I should
Or
have watched
shift
that.
gear.
Shift to
Yeah.
fourth.
Shift to fourth.
I should have watched that before 2008. Shouldn't I?
Yeah.
I think I screwed up on that one. My racing movie. I mean, I love Grand Prix.
Yeah,
it's
of
close.
course.
I love Le Mans. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just,
Fair enough.
they're great. I mean, you're not gonna, the scripts aren't gonna win any awards, but
You don't have to show us or tell us what the text is. Who's the dirtiest texter you've got that sends you the worst jokes, most inappropriate
you're
photos
Tony Kanaan.
Yeah, there
Tony
it is.
Kanaan,
Yeah.
Tony
yeah.
Kanaan, no doubt. I don't know where he gets it from.
of just finding things that you should never see?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
Okay.
we've got this group
A group text of
like Dix and
horrendous
myself,
things. Yeah.
Barry Wands or Scott Harner,
Yeah.
and it's just like, what crap can he come up with that
Yeah.
day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too much time on his hands. Okay,
Oh,
gotcha. Yeah.
he's just, I don't know. I'm speechless on that one. He's Tony Kanaan, no doubt.
No question.
Okay.
There it is.
Fair enough.
I hope this wasn't too painful for you.
It was fun.
I mean, maybe next time we'll get Taco Bell.
Hopefully I haven't offended anybody. Actually, I don't care.
Oh, wait till Willie T.
Oh, do you know Willie T. Ribs at all?
I know, really.
Yeah, you got any stories about him?
No, apparently he's an amazing shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With a shotgun.
And his kid's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a competitive
Right.
kid. Yeah.
Now, Willie T is, yeah.
We've had a couple phone calls with him so far.
We're really excited about him.
Don't piss him off because he will shoot you with that.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, he'll punch you.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Yeah.
How did he fit in an Indy car?
Right.
Yeah. It's a fair question.
Especially those things, because
Yeah, those were the days.
I think back then they just like folded it around you because it was aluminum. And, figure it out. Yeah.
Problem was it did fold around you, didn't it?
Yeah.
Cool. But we're excited. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you, guys.
Dario, thanks for coming.
Ah, my pleasure. Thank you. That was fun.
Continental's got the check.
Ta-da!
I'm finished.
Holy crap! Dario Franchitti to kick off season number 3. Hope you enjoyed. Hey, quick shout out to a couple of guys who submitted. As many of you know, we had a huge guest submission process for your favorite folks. We had 2 guys actually recommend Dario, Keith Rice and Mike Bridges, so hope you enjoyed that in particular. And since this is our first episode of season 3, there's a few people I want to make sure get full credit for the remaining series of episodes you're going to hear. Obviously, many of you have had email exchanges with Natasha, who's been a huge help, Richard Poole, who's also been pretty helpful with this process. But in particular, I also really want to call out Sherry Herman, of course, with Continental, who's been a big part of this series from the beginning, but also my business partner, Jason Medbury, who's had to deal with a lot of stuff beyond Dinner with Racers, since this has been such a preoccupying project. And then a huge shout out to Josh Fahey, who behind the scenes has been a really big part of making a lot of things move around this season to make it all work. So thank you to Josh and Jason, Natasha, Richard, Sherry, and everybody else. Speaking of helpful people, you'll hear me say this later, but one of the best PR people in the business is a driver by the name of Patrick Long. And when Dario walked into the restaurant, he was wearing a Luftgekühlt shirt, which is an event that Pat puts on every year. Of all the bands submitted, actually, Pat had a suggestion named Desure. And in honor of the Luftgekühlt shirt that Dario was wearing, we're going to lead off season 3 with Pat's band named Desure. I was able to find him on iTunes. Check him out. D as in dog, E-S-U-R-E. Here's a track called Stranded Sun.
To inside the city.